Op is falsely accused by a female coworker for sexual harassment and loses his job. Gets video evidence proving otherwise and makes them pay after being told there's nothing they can do. Posted by you/legaltosu. I held a management position at a company. I asked a non-management employee of the opposite gender to step into another room to discuss her performance away from other employees. She was going through a divorce and had made a few mistakes, and while I didn't want to embarrass her, I did want to make sure the mistakes were addressed. She acknowledged it and thanked me. An hour later, I was escorted from my office by security and was informed by my boss that a sexual harassment complaint had been made and that proper protocol was to suspend me. I asked what the accusation was and was told, "We need to investigate. I can't disclose that." He assured me that it shouldn't take long and that if I wasn't guilty of anything, I'd be paid for the time out. I again asked what the accusation was and was told that since there was an ongoing investigation, I was not permitted to know, but if they had questions, I would be contacted. I wasn't happy, but knowing that I hadn't done anything wrong, I left the building. Later that night, I received a notification on my phone that my email password was incorrect. After 2 days, I called my boss asking for an update and was told he was not available but that I would hear something soon. I began calling daily and received the same response. Finally, I received a letter in the mail informing me that I was terminated for exposing myself and requesting sexual favors from an employee. The employee listed was the young lady I had pulled into the side room. I immediately called my boss and was told, he is unavailable and said to say the matter is closed. My buddy, the IT guy, messaged me on Facebook asking what happened, as he'd been told to deactivate my accounts. When I told him the whole story, he replied, "You took her into the X room. Dude, there's a security camera in there. We keep Y in there, so we always have the camera on." Sure enough, he pulled the footage, and there I was, holding a pile of papers, pointing to them, and keeping my pants on the whole time. I left a message for my boss stating that the alleged incident occurred in a room with surveillance and that I would be contacting an attorney and subpoenaing the video record. I received a call back 15 minutes later asking me to please participate in a phone conference with him and HR. The conference went as expected. They didn't realize it had occurred in a room with surveillance. They have a zero-tolerance policy that they have to enforce. You can't be too careful in this day and age, and they regret that this didn't come to light sooner. They've already replaced me, and as it wouldn't be fair to terminate my replacement since she's done nothing wrong, they don't have a job to offer me back. However, as a gesture of goodwill, they're going to pay me through my suspension, change my file so it reads that I voluntarily resigned, and provide me with a good reference. I replied that this wasn't acceptable. They made a false accusation against me, withheld vital information that I could have easily refuted, refused to take my calls, and completely failed in their own investigation by not checking video footage that would have immediately exonerated me. They asked what I thought would be fair. I told them they could immediately terminate the employee who made the accusation and either give me my job back or pay me 1 year's salary in addition to what was offered. My boss said that he could not discuss another employee with me and that neither of those options was feasible. The only options I had were what he had already offered. I replied that the options I gave were the only way I wouldn't sue the company along with the employee. My boss replied that I signed an agreement when I was first hired stating that I would take all disputes through arbitration and that I waived my right to sue the company. I do not remember signing the agreement, and I have not seen it, but it apparently says that I will take all disputes to arbitration, I will bear the costs of arbitration, and that I will accept the decision in arbitration. He stated that I will not fare any better in arbitration than what he's already offered and that I'll be out the money to cover the arbitration. I feel like I'm being bullied here and don't think he would have scheduled a phone conference with such immediacy if he didn't think the company was vulnerable to a lawsuit. I'm waiting on a call back from a few employment attorneys. Do I have a case? Am I wrong to feel that this is unacceptable? Relevant comments. Commenter. Get a lawyer and have them subpoena that video before it gets lost. Ops response. I have the whole conference on tape. My boss admitted that the tape proves the accusation was unfounded and that, had they seen it earlier, they could have offered me my job back. Commenter 2. Yes, you can sue. You can sue the company or the woman who made the false allegations. Ops response. She's been ranting about fighting her husband for the house during the divorce. I wonder how pissed she's going to be when she has to fight me for it. I had sympathy for her because I knew she was going through a tough time, but after this? I fully intend to take her to court. I'm going to go after her for every dime she has. Update 3 weeks later. Quite a bit has happened in the last few weeks. A friend of mine at another company, after hearing what happened, told me his company had an opening. I applied, interviewed, and at the end, the manager asked me what I like to be called. 2 days later, I got a call saying they'd gone with another candidate. My friend admitted to me that he'd gotten some flack for recommending me. Apparently, HR had worked with one of the employees at my former company and called the employee to ask what the deal was with me. To which the employee responded, he got fired for sexually assaulting a subordinate. I think he's actually being charged criminally. I'm literally crying as I type this. It's a nightmare that won't end. Long story short, I lost my crap, called up my old company, but my boss wouldn't get on the phone with me. I had an attorney draft a letter of demand and send it off. We scheduled another phone conference. They once again regret that an employee provided a reference outside of the prescribed channels. The employee was coached on the proper way to handle such requests. My attorney informed them that, in addition to wrongful termination, we would be adding defamation to our complaint against them. They insist that they have not broken any laws and cannot control the actions of an individual employee who went against company policy. So we're at an impasse. Either I move ahead against them, or I walk away. At this point, I'm ready to drag this through court. I tried to take the high road and go elsewhere, but they're regretting a lot of what they've done to me without taking any action to correct it. Oh, I almost forgot. A few days after my last post, they sent me a packet of papers, standard non-disclosure notifications, COBRA, and a blank copy of the arbitration agreement for me to sign. Why a blank one, you ask? Well, it seems somebody screwed up. They weren't making people sign when I was hired, and HR never bothered to have me sign the agreement while I worked there. Of course, I have signed nothing they sent me, including that agreement. I considered allowing arbitration if they covered the costs and I had approval over who was selected, but my attorney has advised against that. I wish I had better news to report. Things aren't as hopeless as they first seemed, but they're not easily fixable either. As for the employee who made the accusation, I know you're eager to hear, but at this point, I can't comment on what's happening there. Thanks for all of the advice and support so far. I promise to update when everything resolves, if not sooner, as much as I can. Second update 1 year later. Everything has been resolved, and I've been wanting to give you guys an update, but I had to wait until my lawyer gave me the okay to talk about things. So let's start from the beginning. I pulled one of my direct reports, Deborah, into another room to discuss a few mistakes she made but did not discipline her further. After this, she went to Joyce, one of the managers above me but not in my direct line of report, equal to my boss in terms of reporting structure. When Joyce heard that I had taken Deborah into another room without any witnesses, she told her that it was unprofessional. Apparently, her exact words were, you could accuse him of being inappropriate with you, and I would have no choice but to believe you. This was repeated several times, with a strong emphasis on no choice. Joyce then asked Deborah if I had been inappropriate with her, saying, "It will only happen again if you don't speak up now. If you do now, we can take action." Taking the not at all subtle hint from Joyce, Deborah accused me of exposing myself to her, and I was placed on leave pending an investigation. Joyce immediately sent out an email stating that nobody besides the secretary was to speak with me without an attorney present and told the IT guy, Paul, to deactivate my access. James, my boss, had a resume from Terry, an employee in Joyce's department, applying for my job before the close of business that day, and she was hired. Paul and I talked, and he provided me with video proving my innocence. The company continued to stonewall me and refused to talk to me. When they did, they attempted to push me into arbitration and to retroactively sign an arbitration agreement. I cut my losses, took another job, and was ready to move on. Sandy, an employee in Joyce's department, broke protocol, talked to HR at the new company, told them I had sexually assaulted a subordinate, and cost me the job. So that brings us up to date. My attorney and I launched a civil suit against the company and Deborah. Bet you're wondering how I know all of the above. Well, good old Joyce said she'd protect Deborah if she came forward. Unfortunately, that only extended to her job. So when she was named individually in this suit, corporate told her they would not be providing her an attorney. After realizing that she'd have to put her house up for collateral, she was all too willing to throw Joyce under the bus. Joyce went to Paul, the IT guy, who was one of her reports, and gave him a list of footage to be procedurally wiped as part of an archive clearout. He pointed out that the incident with me was on that list and part of an ongoing investigation. Joyce told him that it was no longer needed and to go ahead and wipe it. He refused, citing the fact that it would still be requested if the suit moved forward. She told him to pack his things as he was being terminated for insubordination. He called the company attorney and informed her of what had happened. The aftermath. Several things happened at once, so I'll try to keep them as chronological as I can. Deborah's attorney contacted mine, stating that, conditional on me dropping the suit, she would admit that she lied and explain what went on behind the scenes. Dana, the company attorney, got the call from my attorney with the details from Deborah shortly after she finished talking with Paul about his termination for refusing to destroy evidence. Deborah and Joyce were terminated for cause that day. Paul was told that his job was safe. My attorney received a call, and it was made clear that the company didn't want this to go any further and wanted to talk settlement. I won't go into all of the details, but what I can say, I was offered my job back with a very fair increase, I received back pay from the date of suspension, and a public apology was offered from the very top. Terry is now working in Joyce's old position. She's incredibly cool about things, and felt horrified when she found out what happened. James and I are good now, and he has personally apologized for not sticking up for me. This will likely be my final update. There is still some legal battle ongoing, but I can't go into that too much. Thank you for all your support and encouragement. You guys rock. Relevant comments. Commenter. So, the big question I have, what exactly is Joyce's beef with you that she took the first opportunity to take you out? Why did she go through all the easily verifiable channels to try and wreck your career? I mean, she tried to enlist not one, But two separate patsies in this. One of them knew about the whole situation and knew enough to immediately get legal involved, and another who would have to risk everything to try and prove a blatant lie. That just seems like poor planning for petty revenge to me. Why did she have a grudge? Ops response. My guess? Power. She's an ambitious person trying to get ahead in life. Terry and I were on equal levels management-wise. The only difference is that I have more direct reports, whereas she was basically an assistant manager to Joyce, handling the department by herself when Joyce was out. So, Joyce saw an opportunity to place a surrogate in another management position and gain a foothold in my area. Commenter 2. Did James remain fired too, or did he get his job back? Ops response. James was never fired. He did express his uneasiness to his superiors but was told that Joyce had handled the investigation properly and that he was not to speak with me without Dana present. I understand why he did what he did, and while things will never be the same between us, I can work with him without any animosity. Commenter 3. Please tell me that Sandy was fired for cause as well. Ops response. Sandy kept her job. I don't have any bitterness toward her, and I don't know that I would have done differently if a friend had called me, other than that I probably wouldn't have spread an unfounded rumor. Commenter 4. I imagine poor Dana getting 3 phone calls in a row. 1. An employee saying, so, it turns out I made up a sexual harassment claim that got that guy fired because my boss wanted to put her flunky in his job. LOL, whoops. 2. An employee saying, hey, so, someone who is being sued by a former employee just fired me because I wouldn't erase evidence. What do I do? 3. A call from ops lawyer saying, hey Dana, you got your checkbook handy? Poor Dana. Someone buy her a pint of whiskey. Ops response. I don't know this officially, but it's gotten back to me from a few people that after my attorney called, Dana walked into our CEO's office and said, you need to either settle or get outside counsel because there is not a chance in hell I'm walking into a courtroom to defend this effing nightmare. Additional info from Op regarding his future at this company. Believe me, I'm not planning on staying here. However, without giving too much away, this is a very tight-knit industry. People talk, and I was pretty much scorched earth. By clearing my name, being welcomed back, and putting in some time, I'm making sure I have all my ducks in a row before I get the hell out of here.